If you're watching this video from the future and this man died mysteriously, you know for a fact that he shared the same fate of this other man, Julian Assange. This man needs no introduction, so I'll try to be as brief as I can. He is the mastermind behind WikiLeaks, a decentralized platform where anyone could dump any information regarding anything, as the name implies, an information leak, or something that shouldn't be seen by the public eye, while whistleblowers that provide the information in question have the absolute guaranteed anonymity provided by WikiLeaks. Most of the time you'll find on this site it's shady stuff that Western governments do, but what's new under the sun, am I right? Or you will also find other shenanigans that the government does, such as, and let me quote, war crimes, water pollution, child trafficking, This video was taken down by the CIA in collaboration with MI6 and Mossad. Also, don't Google the dancing Israelis. Julian Assange at this moment in time is the most wanted man in the world, besides the Haktua girl.
What's one move in bed that makes a man go crazy every time?
You gotta give him that huck and spit on that thing, you get me?
For those of you who watch this video from the future, this is the sensation of 2024, so you might want to Google it to be up to speed, alright? Although he's legally a free man as of today, he's not, and I repeat, not outside any danger. So why do I say this controversial statement? Well, if it's not obvious, when you leak such sensitive information that can compromise the very legitimacy, the very credibility, and the very existence of the most powerful government in the Western Hemisphere, boy, you know you will make some enemies. Why do you think the US government basically shat its pants and tried everything in their power to silence this man? So why is this guy so important? Why every Western government tried its best to silence this man? Why they even persecuted him for so many years? Well, it all started in 2007 when WikiLeaks published the infamous video document Collateral Murder, where it shows the US military firing upon civilians and journalists in Baghdad, killing 12 people in the process. Those orders specifically came from the higher-ups, and they were not unfortunate mistakes done by low-ranking soldiers.
Light them all up. Come on, fire! Hey, Roger. Keep shooting. Keep shooting. The Hotel 26, Crazy Horse, 1-8. Oh yeah, look at those dead.
Now you see why the US government wanted this man dead. Another one would be the US Embassy's shopping list. As you can see, it's quite large. Hey Americans, would you like to know where your tax money is going? Check this list out. Another one would be the Spy Files Russia. Those are basically documents which shows things that we already knew at this point, that are mass interception and surveillance of entire populations all over the globe. Because the Cold War never truly ended, and 1984 by George Orwell is today a reality. If you want a picture of the future, imagine a boot stomping on a human face forever. Yeah, ain't that right? You see why this man was such a threat to the Western governments? You see why he was in jail for 5 years? You see why he stayed inside the Ecuador's embassy trying to flee from all the Western governments that wanted his head on a plate? You see why he was #1 enemy of many Western governments? You see why democracy, human rights, and the legal system is basically bullshit? Because we do not live in a democracy. Well, Not a democracy for us, but a democracy only for the political class, for the mega corporations, for the NGOs, for the multinationals, and so on. In reality, there's no democracy, because like any other political system or ideology, if you are a threat to the system, you will be eliminated. If your political ideology, if your ideas are a threat to the system, you will be suppressed, or in other instances, silenced. Am I right, Vladdy? This is why I think Julian Assange is not safe, because he has done a deal with the devil. He has pleaded guilty for exposing the US government and violating the Espionage Act. Yeah, he is truly guilty. For exposing how corrupt and evil the US government is. Hey, US government, didn't your constitution, that basically is a piece of paper that you wipe your ass with, didn't it say that the people should keep the government in check? I don't know, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm looking too much into it. And of course, the neo-conservatives began to froth at the mouth when they saw Assange is free.
Now, let me be quick and brief and all those other words that imply short here, because if you're anything like me, you are sick to death of this week's Julian Assange travelling circus. I feel like I'm being gaslit. Did you see this?
The whole world celebrated with us.
What? And Senator David Pocock on this network yesterday.
What Julian Assange did shouldn't be a crime. He told the truth. As far as I know, no one was harmed from that.
I actually can't. Tell me I'm not alone in thinking this man is no hero. Maybe it's the army brat in me, but to purposely endanger the lives of serving Defence Force personnel is not an achievement, nor is it freedom of speech or great journalism. It's abhorrent. Governments must be held to account in times of peace and even more so in times of war. No argument from me there. But with anything public, there is a certain responsibility attached. Our men and women are sent to war by governments. Same in America, the UK, everywhere. They never deserve to be endangered beyond what is already a very life-threatening situation. And that's exactly what Assange did. Imagine if I had hacked into court documents and published every single word. Just imagine, including the names of children who had been abused. I could say, well, in the public interest, all the perpetrators must be named. I mean, I could have completely ruined the lives of innocent young people who don't want to be defined by the crimes of others or who are further endangered by the release of this information, but whatever, who cares? As his supporters say, it's true. Do you see what I mean? Former ASIO boss and Secretary of the Department of Foreign Affairs, Dennis Richardson, spoke on this today and he was brilliant. Have a listen.
This guy has succeeded in turning himself into a celebrity, and I think the government has fallen for that two-card trick.
Hook, line and sinker. Assange is no hero, and what he did does not represent free speech or press freedom. You can hold governments to account in an appropriate way. He did nothing of the sort.
Sky News, stick to making fun of Biden, okay? Because this guy is way out of your league, okay? Stick to whatever you call journalism. Oh, did the blonde albino leak your government's war crimes? You know you're sad? Hey, you conservatives! Let's see what your beloved Orange Man has to say about Assange. Or why didn't he pardon him, or Edward Snowden for that matter, since he is so based?
And I want to ask you, in terms of talking about this corruption, by the way, name that comes to mind in the news recently is Julian Assange. You know, he was exposing this corruption early on. He's had his life ruined because of it. It's a really sad story. Edward Snowden, I mean, think about that bravery. For me, I was quite young when that was going on. But I mean, the idea of saying, hey, whistleblowing, actually, we've got some corruption going on. They're not being honest with the American people. You could have had a chance to pardon these individuals. Why decide not to in that moment?
You have two sides of it. In one case, you have like sort of a spy deal going on, and in another case, you have somebody that's exposing real corruption.
Right.
I feel a little bit, I won't say which one, but I feel a little bit more strongly about one than the other.
Right.
And you probably understand that.
Mm-hmm.
But I could have done it, but I will say you have people on both sides of that issue, good people on both sides, and you have some bad people on one side. But I decided to let that one ride, let the courts work it out. Mm-hmm. And I guess the courts are actually doing that.
Yeah, these are big decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically because your rabbi handlers didn't let you do it and kept you on your leash, you spineless worm. But I'll be fair, just so you don't call me a leftist or a communist or a socialist or whatever the fuck you Trump-tards call one when someone criticizes your rabbi puppet. Let's see what your mommy-in-chief has to say about pardoning Assange.
Do you have a response to Australia's request that you end Julian Assange's prosecution?
What? What did he say? I didn't catch that. Poor guy. This is just elder abuse at this point. Freedom of press doesn't exist. Free press is not mainstream. It will never be mainstream as long as there is corruption in the governments, as long as corporations own the government, as long as this abomination of a system we live in today is still around, you will never have justice. You will never have freedom of speech. You will never have transparency. Julian Assange was put in jail for doing his job, for exposing the truth, for exposing a truth that the government didn't want to be out in the open. He was put in jail for being a good journalist. And those are just tiny snippets of what your corrupt government actually does. Perhaps it's just my cynical and paranoid schizophrenic outlook on life, but in my opinion, I don't think Julian Assange is safe. So Julian, if you watch this video, careful with who prepares your food, okay? When you cross the street, look left, right, okay? No narrow alleys, no dimly lit pubs, okay? You're a big boy, alright? Okay, stay safe out there.
FBI, open up!
Oh, fuck!